I'm Paola Espitia from Ola'pi Creative, and welcome to Conversations by Water, a weekly Facebook live stream where we sit waterside with wave makers to share unfiltered, intimate, and inspiring conversations exploring what it takes to drive change locally and globally. Our mission is to create a ripple effect and empower you to affect change in your lives and communities too.
70% of the surface of planet Earth is covered in water. Also, our brain, our heart, and our lungs consist of 70% water.
That's the epitome of what the ocean is to me. It's just like my heart and soul, and it's love and it's connection.
It was something that was going to stick with him for quite a while.
I mean, read lots of books. Books will motivate you. Experience things. Experiences will motivate you. Watch interviews like this.
And I have to say, being able to go out and make an impact.
How many people do you interact with every day? You can be a change maker for all of those people.
Now it's time for us to say, okay, everybody's had their chance. Now it's time to say, we're ready. We're going to kick it off, and we're going to start making our beach the most environmentally friendly.
The faster you're going to fall in love with water, the longer and happier you're going to leave.
We love water! We love you! Thank you!
Hello again! Okay, here we are. Welcome again to Conversations by Water. This is our weekly Facebook live stream put on to you by Ola'pi Creative, in which case we're interviewing what we consider wave makers all over the world and here in our blue backyard of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, excuse me. I'm really excited about this particular interview, so without further hesitation, let me have Scott join us. All right, I'm just adding Scott now. He's coming to us from a very far, far distance, and I'll let him tell us where he's coming to us from. Hi, Patricia. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while.
How's that working?
Hey!
Hey!
Look at that, we made it work. Hooray!
We did. We did from distance Alaska. We've made it work, and I can show you my blue mine in the background, right? It's a pretty epic day here. But as you can see, I'm dressed with hoodies, and that's good.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Meanwhile, you know, this is a chilly day for us here in Fort Lauderdale. I think it's like 73 degrees, so I'm wearing a jacket and leggings.
That's good. Yeah. No, we're more like 27 here.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, so tell everybody, first of all, I'd like to welcome you, Dr. Scott, to Conversations by Water. This is such an honor to have you on.
Well, thank you. It's truly an honor to be here, and it was great to, when trying to just operationalize this, to be like, okay, well, I'm in somewhat remote Alaska, and to try to get a place where I had Wi-Fi that was, service near water was a bit daunting in itself. But it's such a pleasure to be here and to know that we're able to connect across boundaries over love of water.
Exactly, amazing. And so again, thank you so much for your efforts. And you are certainly coming from such a special place. Tell everybody where you're coming to us from.
Yeah, so I'm here in Haines, Alaska, and we're Southeast Alaska. So we are surrounded by across the water from us. So behind me is the ocean, and if we kind of do a little pirouette, essentially what's happening is the river is coming down. This is where the river meets the ocean. And if we were to hang out for another 6 hours, low tide would go down up to 20 feet today. So pretty powerful place that we're at this intersection between the ocean and the river. Across from us are glaciers coming down into the water. So really kind of an epicenter of multiple forms of water. So sunny Haines, Alaska.
Wow, it is super incredible there. And so I can kind of see why you're there. I mean, beyond the cold part. But, So I was telling folks that we got a chance to first meet at the Blue Mine Summit this year in Miami, although I think we were at other Blue Mine Summits together. We just didn't know at the time. But it was so fun. So let everybody know, my first question, of course, is what is your connection to water?
Wow. Of course, we all have a personal connection with water to a certain degree, whether or not we to which level we embody that. But we all have a personal connection with water, and I have a pretty deep connection personally with water in terms of loving it in the river form, in the frozen form of snow. But I also work as a river guide, so it's also part of my my profession, and I also part of that profession is training new guides to have this kind of mindful connection with water, not just the physical skills to get down and navigate a river, but also to kind of foster this emotional connection that we have. And then from an academic standpoint, it's really how I got my dissertation was on river time. That idea that when we spend purposeful time on rivers, that can change our connection to ourselves, our connection to others, and then the connection to the planet. So I have kind of multiple tiers of water through my life in many ways.
But as it always works with us water people, everything kind of just flows into the next evolution of what we're doing. And otherwise, it's all based around water. It all makes sense.
Yeah, truly.
So now, right now, though, you are also the director of the Alaska Outdoor Education School. This sounds like an amazing place. So tell us a little bit about what a day is like there and who it's for and what that program is about.
Yeah, so I graduated with 20 some years ago with a master's in environmental science, and I came up to Alaska to get some field work, and I got blown away by this living classroom. And in the process of training new guides, I recognized that there was this opportunity here with this stunning landscape to inspire people beyond just learning tangible lessons, like hard lessons, that there were these complex relationships that people were able to digest and embody, and I thought that was really profound. And so I started the Alaska Outdoor Science School, and in a day in the life of that is we right now we're focused really bringing on college students and high school students up here within a really purposeful curriculum, which lets them really embody some really how we're all connected, not just between each other, but how the physical environment shapes our ecological relationships, our economic relationships, our emotional relationships. And so we do a classroom session in the morning, usually like traditional classroom, like you might get in a biology or an ecology class, and then we go out in the field in the afternoon. And then so, for example, let's just take something like like climate change, for example, something that's emotional and political and abstract for some of us. Well, let's go walk in a glacier and watch it melt. Let's take out the politics. Let's take out all that other stuff. Let's just see what's happening. And that kind of relationship that we can create with the natural world seems to have pretty powerful implications.
Right. And so in your dissertation work, what were some of the things you can tell us that you found, or what was something that was surprising that you found in your research?
Well, I think one of the things that, if for those people who are river people, like river guides and things like that, we probably all have established this idea that there's this notion called river time. That when you're on the river for multiple days, something happens. We tap into this natural rhythm and we go with the flow, all that kind of stuff. And so what my dissertation was able to kind of get a better look at was, does it last? So when people go away after their experience, does that go away? Does river time go away? And so what we're able to find is really that these types of meaningful experiences last. They need to be cultivated. You need to have they last longer with purposeful strategies, but they do last, and that's exciting. That's kind of meaningful. That a surf session or a river time or a time on the water can interweave into your fabric and have meaningful, enduring implications, which is cool.
Yeah. And especially too, as just as you're mentioning with climate change and trying not to politicize it, and when you're putting kids like this or anybody out in the field, they internalize it, and it moves people, really. Like being in nature, being around water, it moves people, and that's really the big idea that I think you and I and all of the folks in the Blue Mind movement are trying to show, is that it's so important, especially now, to do something about climate change and be more mindful of our behavior and conscious of our behavior and how it affects the environment. And it's really, once you get that connection and once you realize how beautiful it is and how important this, you know, our blue planet is when it clicks. So what would be then your mission for this school? What is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Well, so really the school is kind of a vehicle, essentially. It's the vehicle to get, it's a vehicle to provide the opportunity for students to develop a curiosity with the natural world. And, you know, profound things happen when we're curious. When we can align our personal interest with shared purpose, when we can see that we're part of a bigger picture and that we're connected to something way bigger than we are outside of just us. Any of those opportunities really is going to be the healing of the nation in many ways. And so the idea is that this really is transformational, that students have an opportunity now to kind of step out of the traditional classroom and get an appreciation that you would no way, you'd struggle to get that in the classroom. I mean, there's incredible valuable lessons that are learned in the classroom, but when you actually, you know, when you want to talk about snow and you're, you know, when you feel it being cold, it's a totally different experience. I mean, you know, than reading about it. You know, so all that stuff, and so within the science school, we really try to purposely weave in that water element. I mean, because we're surrounded by it, you know. So whether or not it's purposeful blue mind messaging, it's just wonderful opportunities. We have
University student, or is there a direct association with just a particular university?
Yeah, so we have two different models essentially. The first model is working with different universities. So say like Virginia Wesleyan University, which is a small college liberal arts college in Virginia. They have been coming up and bringing students. So that one's really easy because they basically have a professor comes up and I co-teach. I basically co-teach the course with them in many ways, and then they get college credit through that university, which is really easy.
Awesome.
Or you just get students or people that are wanting to learn that come up kind of a la carte and will join, and then they can either get credit through University of Alaska, or some people don't want credit. Some people just want the experience. I mean, which is, so we try to accommodate all those people, all those needs. Yeah.
And so what I've actually never been to Alaska. Too bad, but I have yet to come up. Exactly. Now that I have friends up there, I'll definitely make sure I come up. But so right now, I know your seasons are changing, your environment's changing. So what is it like up there now?
Well, what is it like now? I'm sorry I'm trying to get I don't have a tripod, so I'm trying to get as stable as possible.
You're doing good.
Well, right now, I think probably one of the biggest things about living in Alaska is a balance. It's always a constant balance act between being in a place where you can actually drink the water. You know, actually, we power our house by water. You can drink the water out of the creek, and that's that's pretty profound. And to be in a place where, I mean, I'm on the beach here, and there is one other person walking their dog within 2 miles.
Right. Right.
So, but the balance of that, you know, there is this, it's going to be daylight for another couple hours. And you all in Florida know the wonders and power of vitamin D.
Right.
And so there's the balance between being in a place where you can still drink the water and be surrounded by wild things. And being, you know, having wellness, having wellness in other ways. So, yeah, it's challenging, but it's in many ways it's exciting. And we'll see how long that it sustains.
Right. How long have you been living up there?
I've been living over 20 years. So, I think 23 years now. Yeah. So, and you know, it's interesting. At first, when I first came up here, I realized how special it was, and I wanted to live up here, thinking that this was the end all. And, you know, I go back and forth, you know, whales migrate and birds migrate. And so what does that look like? but yeah, it's good. It's good
Yeah.
now. It's good
Yeah,
now.
that's such a neat thing, the fact that you have all of these migrations coming in. I mean, if big news is if we have a whale shark come in, and it's usually a juvenile, and there's a handful of divers that ever get to see it, but we never get to see all these massive creatures right here, just going right, on our commute to work, for instance. That must be so incredible. What kind of whales do you have going through your area?
Yeah, we get a lot. We're a humpback team. We get a lot of humpback
Ah.
whales come through here, and
Mhm.
and of course not related. Well, somewhat related, but we get killer whales, which are actually not in the whale family, but we do get killer whales up through here as well. And there's an abundance of different migration of marine animals, plus the terrestrial animals. You get your iconic bears and moose and wolves, and that's pretty exciting. And this right now, what's happening, and I would have loved to have taken you all up the highway. Right now, we've got thousands and thousands of eagles that have migrated here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, along the river, and so there's bear tracks along the river where they've come to the side of the river and pulled salmon out, and left traces behind of footprints and fish parts and
All the good stuff for
but
the eagles.
all the good stuff for the eagles. But there'd be no way we would get any form of service up there. So there you go. Here we are. Here we are.
No, that's beautiful behind you. I actually I saw one of your videos where you were snorkeling with salmon. So what kind of salmon were those? And I'm sure not many people are doing that as their everyday snorkeling.
Yeah, to get my Jones on, to get my water fix. I often
Right.
talk to Jay. You've said a lot about the Blue Mind movement with Jay, and oftentimes about how trying to get your Blue Mind experience. Say something. If you're in Florida, you can get it hourly, almost.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
opportunity there. Where we're here, it requires a little bit more effort in many ways. But so what happens up the highway is the river doesn't freeze. There's kind of a hot spring, and it's some really interesting geophysical reasons why it doesn't freeze, and that's kind of a pretty big topic actually of the course. But anyways, it doesn't freeze, and so eagles now have access to salmon, which would normally be protected by a frozen ice layer, and so they have access to it, which is not common this time of year in many ways. And so I saw this crystal blue water and these salmon in there, and I figured, I need to go establish a relationship with them. So I got the snorkel and the dry suit and swam around with them. And they're called chum salmon, the big ones that we.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a fun video, and that's what a guy does when. Yeah.
When he needs his blue fix. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that I noticed, I mean, they probably don't run into many humans because they weren't moving at all. Like, they were just right there in front of you.
It did take me a while when I first got in there. Well, you can imagine. So the water is, if it wasn't for the spring, it would be freezing, right? So you get out and there's snow on the ground, and so it couldn't be any colder in liquid form. So it took a little bit to get my face ready for it. I mean, the dry suit works, but it's still kind of stunning. And so, but by the time I kind of started settling in, they were cool with me in there. It was kind of cool to swim around.
Yeah, it turned out to be a cool video. So you did mention the Blue Mind movement. We've been talking a lot about that. How long ago, how did you get to meet Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, and how long ago was that? And tell us about your involvement with the Blue Mind movement.
Well, so I was in a doctoral program in sustainability education through Prescott College, and we were meeting a wonderful program. And so we were in Austin for their sustainability workshop, my whole cohort, and I was kind of in this stage where I knew I wanted to do something with rivers, but I didn't really know, if that was kind of far out there. If you're really going to get your dissertation on rowing a river trip and that looked like. So I'd gone to this conference, and we were walking around, and there were several different opportunities, different things going on, and I'd gone into a session I wasn't into, and luckily, because I got up and I left, and I was walking through the kind of the main hall, and I saw this book, and it had the marble, and I flipped over and I looked at the title, and I was like, oh, there it is, and this is the kind of the essence of what my dissertation. So I put it on the counter, didn't open it up or nothing. I just put it on the counter and bought it, which is really unlike me. And so it turned out though that Jay was giving a little talk. Just, it wasn't a keynote. It was just a little obscure little talk, but there was an opportunity to set aside time to do an interview with him, or not an interview, but a one-on-one 15-minute session. And so I'm not that tech savvy, so I got my friend to get it set up, and then I figured out how to do it, and so I double booked him, and we got to connect for 30 minutes, and I was like, okay, this is exactly the person I want to be with. This is the movement I want to be with. And so Jay was really gracious, and we did a mentored course together, and then he was on my dissertation committee, and I love the guy. I think his work is incredible, and then so I've been really excited to be a part of trying to get this idea of Blue Mind to become, and this is an incredible mission, really. If you think about it, the mission is to get Blue Mind to become common knowledge. I mean, who, you know, there's not, who does that? Who wants to just make,
Right.
It's no money involved, you know, it's not to raise money for this, that, other thing. It's to just make that everybody realizes that water has more than just an ecological value. And so I just feel so honored to be any part of it. And I know that we're going to do a little live thing all day Friday, kind of promoting that idea. So yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we include links to all of this down below as soon as we're done with this video, so that people can find out a little bit more about the Blue Mind movement, and also tune into that Friday live stream. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's funny that you say that. So I just got off from being at sea. I was on the Holland America cruise doing lectures and including Blue Mind, injecting Blue Mind into every single lecture. And it's so neat when you have then people come up to you afterwards and they're like, yeah, I have a boat, or I've always lived by water, or I have a lake house. And, you know, they have always recognized that they've felt good around water. But then when you put a label to it, and then when you throw in the Blue Mind science behind it, it all just clicks. And I love seeing that you know, those aha moments when they recognize and they're like, wow, now I realize that now that I'm conscious that water is good for me, it's even more beneficial, and they harness it even, they embrace it even more so. And then of course that just leads to what we hope is going to happen, is that more people are changing their behavior to care for the very thing that they love, this water element. And I think ultimately, you know, that's a big part of the movement too, is care for the blue planet. We are covered by water, and it's so important that we embrace that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in that. So the research indicates that even if you don't believe, even if you don't know anything about this Blue Mind movement, that water has a way to make you calmer. You know, it's going to help you sleep. It's going to help you, you know, be more creative. It's going to do those things regardless of whether or not you knew it going in.
Yeah.
But then when you add this extra element of being purposeful and mindful with it, and realize, wow, now when you add intention on it, wow, so now that I'm going to listen to water, I'm going to relax, I'm going to breathe, all of a sudden then it becomes even more profound, which is, I think, that's good stuff, right? That it happens.
Yeah.
What Jay has been calling the placebo effect, you know, this, that we create that water helps us create the antidote. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you have many perks to what you get to do. What would be one of the favorite parts of what you do?
Wow. Gee, you know, I think sharing love for the natural world is an incredible perk. Because, you know, it's kind of twofold in many ways. It's like I get to do it, you know, like, so when I do a course, I get to be, I'm a participant, you know, I'm going through looking for tracks, or, you know, looking at this place. I mean, like I get to be, along with it. But then there's this incredible gift that I can be the conduit for someone to, have this transformational, experiential, learning, which, I mean, it really is a gift. I feel like it's you know, a gift. And so in that way, it's my business, but it's not. And I think that that's really wonderful when you can be in line with something that is meaningful to you in more than just economic terms.
Yeah.
And so I feel blessed to be that, and I feel blessed to be supported by an incredible family. My wife and my little girl, teach me every day, and so it's pretty cool to then to carry that, to try to integrate those lessons, and yeah, it's cool. I get to teach and learn at the same time.
I know, as being lifelong learners, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it's super contagious. I've had people tell me it's so contagious, this idea of the blue mind and being by water and being outdoors, and that's exactly what it is. And it's so simple, but once you reconnect, that's what it's about. So I'm sure you have some pretty harrowing stories, because you're like in real wildlife land up there. What's a good story you can share with us?
Oh goodness! Wow. Okay. That's funny. I just okay. Well, let's see. We do multiple day. Sometimes part of some of the science school stuff we do is we do an overnighter on the river, and because that just is a really wonderful when you completely detach from everything and you really open yourself up to the integrative, the emergent things that come out, the lessons. But I also participate in multiple day river trips as a side, part of being a wilderness guide. And so that when you asked me about an experience, I thought about this. We did this multiple day river trip with my good friend Casey Keffer, and it was a multiple day trip. It was a 9-day trip on the Tashishini, and we came down and we were camping overnight at this one place because we liked it so much, and we were floating down the river, and just leaving this overnight, and I saw this big splash happen down, and these rivers are kind of multiple channels, so you can choose which route you're going to go, and they can have all kinds of different outcomes. Up here, okay, and so I looked down at the splash, and I think, it's a bear. Moose. And so I gave her the moose sign, and
So it wasn't a moose, or was it a moose?
okay, so I give him, first I think it's a bear sign, so I give Case the bear sign, and then as we're cruising along, I realized, actually this is a moose, and so I gave her the moose sign. That's coming down, and then as we were kind of working our way down towards the river, all of a sudden I realized, actually, what this is? This is a bear chasing a moose. And so we better stop, because that's kind of the prudent thing to do. So we stop, and we're watching this thing unfold, and as this bear's chasing this moose, it's like ultimately you want to watch this thing, but then you realize, this is now exceeding our safety, right? And so
and there's like nowhere to hide either, right?
Yeah, you're this little piece of in this huge river system that you just feel such a speck on the planet, which is wonderful about being on a river trip like that, is you really feel small, and you feel really kind of like integrated with the river, right? Because if the river wants to take you one place, you can't fight it. That's just the way it is. So anyways, we're watching this thing unfold, this bear chasing a moose, and so I realized, actually, it's getting out close. It's getting way too close for comfort. So we all get out, and we wave our hands, and the bear stands up, and he looks at us, and he takes off running. And so now this moose is in the middle of the river, just looking at us with his Haines got this huge chunk out of his hind quarter.
Oh, wow.
And so we're just like, wow, this is crazy. But still, we've got to keep on boating because you can't camp out in the middle of the river. And so we slowly line our boats down the river towards him, and the moose takes off running. And I'll make a long story short, but ultimately we saw this moose another 2 or 3 times down the river. So I mean, that's what's wonderful about river trips up here, is you get that. Not only do you get that therapeutic thing from being on the rivers, but you also get this wild element, which is pretty special.
And it's real wild. I mean, it's so wild. That's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
So what do you have next? What do you have to look forward to? Any new programs, or what's going on up there for you next?
Well, so I'm also a professor, so I'm grading papers right now. It's great to be on the other side of that. So I'll do that for a couple more weeks, and then we'll get the semester all tapped in, and then really just gearing up for. We got 3 offerings this semester or next summer, and so just kind of getting that all real tight so that we can accommodate for students. We're trying to make this really my approach to the science school really is to get it right, not just to bring in people, but to establish good relationships with colleges. And we've got some wonderful colleges that we're working with. I feel truly blessed to be supported in that world. So yeah, and it's great. And so then, and we'll also do a river guide school training, which is really fun. That'll happen in the spring. And that's always a blast. I can see some fellow river people on, so that's pretty fun.
I want to make sure too that we give people a way to get in touch with you, to follow along, and also then to sign up for the courses. Are they also open to the public, to adult learners, or?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we have an open course right now that's open to anybody, really, essentially. So high schoolers or college kids or families or people, kids that are students that are looking for credit, and students that are not looking for credit, people that are just looking for the experience. And so that opening is at the end of June, which is exciting because it's a great time to be here. So yeah, you can. Right now, we're really just trying to get that all tight and right. We got a wonderful facility. We got wonderful collaborators. We try to work with different local experts and elders. So I guess the way to go is through the science school a website, which is pretty Alaska Outdoor Science School. It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, and we'll make sure we include the link down below.
So yeah, that's the way. Cool, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that's and it's funny is when I can see some of my college buddies that have kind of sent messages. And a lot of my friends now have kids now that are students in college now, and so it's a wonderful, really opportunity to watch your kids blossom in a place where having guided for long enough, I try to surround myself with expert guides. It's a wonderful way to feel secure about that, about sending your kid away to Alaska. To where that they're going to have an incredible experience, but it's going to be safe. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely trust that they're in really good hands there, being with you, not only with your experience and your knowledge, but I mean, you're a lot of fun to hang out with. Who wouldn't want to hang out on the river with you for 9 days? That sounds incredible.
Yeah. So there's a Peeber, tell Peebo that he's on there. I just saw him stream in. We've had some really good fun on the river together, and and I think that's the thing is that when you get people outside, play.
Yes.
And so there's no reason why play has to be disconnected from the world of academia. You can learn whether or not it's for credit or whether or not it's lifelong learners. Play is an incredible element, and gosh, why not? Why not have fun?
Absolutely. I mean, people take life too seriously, and life is short. So I'm so happy to know folks like you who really truly are wave makers. So real quickly, and in your little summary here, what matters to you? What matters to you?
It's what matters to me. So many things matter to me, but it would be I think that it would be wonderful if it'll be a wonderful time when people look back on this period in the future, when we look back on this period and say, wow, can you believe that we needed to be told that rivers were meaningful, that water was meaningful to us? I mean, if you look back on it wasn't long ago when people said, exercising is good for your health. And now it's common knowledge, right? Now you're like, of course exercising is good for your health. And now we're starting to get to the stage where you're like, yeah, being outside is good for your health. And I look forward to the time when we look back and be like, of course, being on the river or being by the river or being in a bathtub, that's good for you. Of course it is, right? And so now let's move the conversation forward instead of let's now that we have that as our base, let's move it forward. And so I look forward to that that time in our lives when we can engage with other things. So yeah, pretty exciting.
It's so well put. You know, it's super true. It's a great thing that people are starting to recognize this, but now it's time to take action and actually go out and experience it for yourself. And you, of all people, know that for sure.
Well, yeah, no, I feel blessed. And, you know, for one thing about, just a shout out for, I see there's people from all over, a lot of folks from water places. Go get it. Go get your water. Go out, be outside. Go, you know, if it's at the beach, go sit by the beach. Don't never try to take it for granted, because there's, it's incredible. And I'm really feel blessed to have had such wonderful people all along the way that have encouraged me along the way to be in the water and to get around the water. And yeah, let's keep it going.
I love it. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today on Conversations by Water. You're an amazing wave maker. I'm so happy to know you, and I cannot wait to go visit you up there in Haines, Alaska.
My pleasure. Thanks for doing this. I really pleasure. And yeah, come join us and let's have some fun.
You got it. Well, for all of you out there watching, we'll make sure we put all of those links. So until next time, Scott and I would like to wish you water. Thanks for joining us.